your place.
Thank you.
It's so nice. And you too, Sherry. Yeah.
I'm sorry. We moved from the office with a pretty view to the master bedroom to give us more space. So I miss that window. Okay, so I posted in the group when I did the live that we're discussing common excuses that we see when people are trying to start their bookkeeping business or a business in general, and then excuses that are actually disguised as productive action. So, because we keep seeing that a lot. Eileen's like, where are you going with that?
Yeah.
Eileen, what was your thought there? Is that possible, or should I rephrase it? What was your thought there?
No, I think it's a good idea, and I'm just so. But just to clarify, excuses disguised as productive action.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what that means.
So, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm thinking of the person who is sitting down, they're at their computer, they're starting their bookkeeping business, but they're spending more time on their website, in Canva, posting to social media, but they're not adding friends.
Oh, non-productive action.
It is unproductive, but
Oh, I thought you said productive action.
Because it is productive, like they feel like they're being productive. So it's disguised as productive action, right?
Got it.
I got my website up, I got my Facebook page going, I'm posting, I'm doing right, like it looks pretty, it's branded. I'm productive, right? Like I am checking those lists off. But it's very unproductive. And so they're not like, right? So it becomes like, so maybe I can phrase it differently, because like, is it really an excuse? But you're hiding behind doing all of these things instead of actually going to get clients, right? So I'm spending.
I would say yes.
Instead of talking to people.
Mhm.
Yeah, Debbie?
Yes.
Yeah, in this business, yeah. I agree with Debbie. There's like two columns. What you really need to do to really get started and then there's the stuff that could be put off.
Yep.
I mean, the website's great, right? But if we're not going to get started because a website makes us feel more professional, becomes an excuse to delay.
And also, what do you think of Pro Advisor certification?
And it could be an excuse, right? Because, so I just recently talked, I think it's good. I'm doing a whole training on it, guys, just FYI on that specific topic. So it's good. It's good to have. Is it necessary? No. Megan, who still doesn't have hers.
Almost 4 years, do not have it.
But she still replaced her income in 4 months of starting, like actually starting, right? And left her job.
Yeah.
And she didn't have Pro Advisor. So 100%. And this thought started because I've been inundated the past couple of months with excuses, and they don't always sound like an excuse. It's I need to do this first, or I don't have this certain piece of equipment or something, or I'm working a full-time job. And if you want to run those excuses by me, I can tear them down so quickly. Because I did have one, and I was like, and it's a valid excuse. And I told Megan, I was like, hey, this is a valid excuse, but I still think it's just an excuse. Can you check me? Like, I want to make sure I'm being completely fair in what I'm saying here. But they didn't have a computer. Valid, right? You need some sort of
yeah.
and this person knows I talked to this person about this, so I'm not just talking behind her back. I did talk to her about this. Megan did not have a computer when she started. She used a tablet. But then I did a quick search. How can I get a computer quickly? A, I found them for under $100. B, you could go to the library. I found workforce grants. I found all kinds of state programs. You can get a computer if you need to, right? Like, and it's,
Oh,
but then my other thought, here was my very first thought though, when she said that. Okay, great. You have a full-time job. You don't have a computer. That's okay. Let's go get a client, hire a contractor. And because you're on Facebook on your phone, let's review the work, because you can kind of review it via QuickBooks. You can get the reports. The contractor can send you reports and you can review it, right? So you'll get the general ledger, the balance sheet, and P&L. You can review from that and tell her to push it out.
Yep.
Excuse gone. Now that's not ideal, but like to get your first job, to get the computer so you can do it yourself. Eileen.
Yeah, so I would maybe excuses versus maybe faux production.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. For-
Okay,
yeah.
just for more clarity. And Elise used a Chromebook for a long time.
The
Yeah,
students
they're cheaper.
at Grand Canyon University, they're encouraging them to get Chromebooks over a laptop.
That's what Kaylee and them school, that's what they want them to have.
So,
I still have my Chromebook.
and I started with just a computer that I had. I was barely using it because I was, as a full-time stay-at-home mom, why do I need to get on a computer? So it was just, I wasn't really on it very much.
Mhm.
At that point, so I just went and dusted it off and opened it, but I mean, that was a computer, so it wasn't like a new computer or anything. It was probably a few years old, and I did quickly actually have to replace it, but so those are just a couple of things. And then, you know, I personally fell into this trap, right? I needed the perfect pricing, I needed the Canva stuff, I needed the web. I did fall into that because I would say I spun my wheels a lot, thinking I needed more answers.
Mhm.
I needed more help, or like I gave myself all kinds of excuses because I hadn't seen it done before. I hadn't seen someone run their own business. So and I was terrified that even though even though I knew what I was doing, I have the background, I was still terrified that I was going to get it wrong. And it's super something.
You know, I think this is a great topic. I really do. And then it puts starting a business, you're turning it on its head from what other people are saying. You really are. And now you're framing it. It's like, the target now is just get your first client. It's not replacing your income. It's not, I don't know, moving to Maui and doing this, things like that. So it's chunking it way down, which a lot of people are there. You have to start where you're at. And there are some people who do have more resources and they can start a little bit, but but most people don't. So to really chunk it down, I think honestly, and see what you say, if you really need to chunk it down that much, I think mentoring is essential because of the excuses are there for a reason. They're definitely fears there.
Yeah.
And
I
then the stuckness.
I would have moved farther faster if I had had a mentor that could see that could challenge me in this way. So I did seek out mentors and things like that. But I didn't necessarily find the right mentors for what I needed, which is why I think listening to your training is really important, because there are a lot of mentors out there. So I hired a personal CFO. I was interviewing coaches like twice a month, like help me help myself, because I really felt like I didn't know and couldn't move forward. So I was paying a personal CFO, $300 a month. He was like diving into my personal finances, which were really organized at that time. And like, my husband got on the calls, like he was, and Eileen, you probably remember this because I told you. And so I was paying him $300 a month.
Mhm.
And he like did my business financials and is like, okay, go get this many clients, talk to this many people, create 3 pricing structures. But I didn't ever get ahead because he wasn't targeting my true fear. My true fear was putting myself out there, right? So I could have had all the pieces together, but I couldn't put myself out there the way I should have. So if I had just started with putting myself out there,
Mhm.
the other stuff would have followed. And I wouldn't have spent so much time in limbo and kind of sabotaging myself. Like I had a large client who wanted to give me bookkeeping, and I was like, nope, I didn't start a bookkeeping business. Because I was doing financial analysis and I was like, I don't want your bookkeeping, and turned him away. And I'm like, but bookkeeping is kind of essential. It's making sure I have the numbers. So I could have like just upcharged him into like a different package, but I didn't know that. And that was the very first, that was the guy who paid for my LLC. Right. So anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off, Aileen, but
No, I think it's all very valid, really valuable. I think this is a great discussion. Where would you put LLC? Because you can start as a solo entrepreneur, but there are, depending on where you live, there's different costs, obviously. I'm in California. It's very expensive in California, but you don't pay for it for a year.
right.
And so there was it's $800. We're the most expensive in the nation, but to start it, there's no cost, basically.
I feel like if it takes you under, and how long does it take you to do an LLC in California?
It doesn't take I'm trying to remember, because it's
Like if you sat down at your computer to do it.
yeah, and you know what, I got a little confused, so I called them and I was able to get right through, and to make sure I'm doing this right. But I was able to do it myself.
I think if it's a task that you can just check off really quickly,
Mhm.
and not like chronically in Canva, right? Like you don't need Canva or to pay for Canva to post to social media.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't put LLC. I don't feel like that has to be an excuse. I think just doing it. But I have seen it used as an excuse. Let me clarify. I think it's a task worth doing. Can it be used as an excuse? 100%. I've seen it used as an excuse because, oh, I can't market myself until I have an LLC. If you're marketing and getting yourself out there and you know that it's not an excuse, like, no, like, I can just do this real quick and then get back to marketing
Mhm.
for your LLC, right? If it's taking you 4 weeks to get your LLC filed, it's an excuse.
Yeah, it didn't take that long.
But I've seen that, right? Like I've seen
Okay.
it for someone to commit to doing their LLC.
Oh, I see.
And then
I see.
that's the example where it was an excuse. Until I do
And
that, I can't market it. Sorry, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, it's also not like something that you have to have either at the same time, because we have a coach that I don't know if she's filed yet, but was planning to recently and has been doing it for 2 or 3 years, just as a sole proprietor.
Yeah, because you can file, and there are some benefits to being a sole prop in that, like, you don't have to put your kids on any sort of payroll. You can just pay them directly. Like there are some tax benefits, depending on your situation or financial situation. There are some unique situations where actually being a sole prop would be beneficial. And I think you can still get some sort of insurance. So I would talk to your insurance provider there for it. And we have a couple of questions. So what do you say about taking on debt to get coaching?
You know, many people here did that and got burned and are still struggling to get that paid off and are scared to do that again. So this is very unique to this industry is what I'm going to speak to from a bookkeeping standpoint. The program that I think you're specifically referring to, while I did just see someone get a 5-figure cleanup as her first client, her first job, she got on a quoting call. I helped her quote. They said yes, so they got a 5-figure cleanup. Would have paid that, and they're making now $600-700 a month from this client. That's not normal, right? And she only got that because she did get mentoring, because she was going to way under quote, like by a third or more of that. So she wouldn't have been able to pay for it on her own. So mentoring definitely helped her get that. I personally don't know if I would go into debt because there's a lot of mental hoops on that. Eileen, correct me if I'm wrong, but like for me, where I had been working so hard to get out of consumer debt that I would not recommend going. Like that would have been putting myself backwards. But what I did do is I did go ahead and put it on a credit card, and I still made my business pay for it. So I still had the money to cover it, but I did hold it. I parked it on a credit card and I paid it off within a month of getting a cleanup. And that was like $4,000. So I guess I put only a fraction of that, of course, on a credit card. And I made the business pay off all of it. With that, I don't think there's any reason, especially the way that we've set up this program, or there's other programs too, where you can go get a client, you can pay for a call, get the quote, which is what this person did. We got on a call, a support call, which is super affordable. Take it out of your grocery money if you can, like forgo buying the throw pillow and pay for it. Obviously don't not feed your family. That's not what I'm saying. I use grocery as like a grocery and spending and toilet paper and all of that. Like I would much rather buy 2 rolls of paper towels instead of the Costco paper towels and pay for the support call and buy the bundle of paper towels later. That's what I'm saying. Like take it out of, be wise, don't not feed your family. And then I would pay for it out of the client is what I would personally do and what I would encourage you guys to do, because there's no reason you can't get a client. Like if you're talking to people and really taking action, because there's no sense in paying for something that you're not going to use. So if you're going to, I don't know, Eileen.
Well, and to touch on a little bit what you're saying, like one very important part, like that could hold you back from getting a client is the excuses. So like, that's why it's so important to talk to us, because a lot of times you might not even realize that it is an excuse, or how can you get past it because you're just stuck in that excuse. So like have conversations with us, with other people in the group, like let us help you work past that excuse, and then you can get clients.
I totally agree with that, because we can't sometimes we can't see our own selves, and that subconscious belief,
Yep.
is it a limiting belief? There's and I've talked with, as you guys know, a wide range of people about whether to get into a mentoring program and a certain mentoring program. And if you are struggling to put food on the table, struggling with your shelter, it's not a time to get into debt or even pay for mentoring, because there's a lot of mental cleanup you have to do. And I would coach people to really work on bringing in income in another way. Sometimes they had to get a job, things like that, DoorDash or something, some other side hustle to really get secure. Because if you're starting from a place where you're not very secure, that foundation, it's really, really, and you guys chime in, I think it's really hard, because you have those fears of survival to then try to launch a business.
Yeah, so definitely four walls in place first, so housing, shelter, food. What's the other? Housing, transportation.
Cable TV.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay,
Crystal.
Debbie, so I think we answered her question. Let me know if we didn't. Debbie, can you explain a little bit more if you're willing to unmute? I don't know if I follow everything. Because it can be a lot. Debbie, I think what you're saying there is there's so many things to do with the bookkeeping. And it's overwhelming and you don't know where to start. Therefore, it does take, because you said it takes 100 times longer to muddle through when you see others flying through it. And I think I hear what you're saying there. But what I want to caution you there is that's a trap, in that others are flying through it because they're taking action to get the clients to apply it. Right?
I think some of that is just, there are some of us who haven't been exposed to computers our entire lives, right? We don't, now I'm past this, but I do recall the feelings, right? You guys are saying, get on Facebook, do this, do that, put yourselves out there, do this, do that. And it should only take you 15 minutes. Well, it may take you only 15 minutes, right? When I started this 3 years ago, I had a Facebook account in 2009 or whatever, when it first blew up, right? I didn't do anything on it, didn't have a clue how to do anything on it. So you're poking buttons, sending the wrong stuff out to everybody under the sun, looking like a ding-a-ling, and it's just, sometimes it beats you up, right? Because you guys talk about things that are foreign.
That's fair. But my clients don't come from Facebook. Megan's do.
I understand that, but the
And-
options that are given to go get clients, this is a whole different, we're on Mars.
Yeah.
I would
You know,
suggest
so-
like asking a ton of questions though, because like obviously we probably do take it for granted a lot of times that you are familiar with Facebook or Upwork or whatever the case is, but like let us know, and whatever this particular situation is, I'm just going to use Facebook for that example, but like, hey, I don't have a Facebook page, or I don't know how to use it, or whatever, like that stuff we can definitely go into way more detail on. We just kind of course probably take it for granted that everybody is kind of familiar on like, hey, you can search, you can post, you can do these things, but that's definitely stuff that like, hey, we can do very basic stuff as well if there's a need. And Sherry, I don't know what else. I think you were going to say something too.
No, you're good. And I know for me and Debbie have talked about other ways.
Right.
Yes, we have.
We've talked about in-person trade shows, different things that she could be doing that didn't involve Facebook. Because she's trying to protect the other people who are listening to this and feel that technology is out of reach. And I think that's a really valid point. And going into that chat GPT conversation that we had this week, it was motivated out of this specific concern that Debbie rose. And I think about my dad. So my dad's in his 60s. He, when I was younger, injured his back. At that point, I remember him and my grandfather had built, they came from a carpentry background. So they were in Dallas, Texas building, where my dad was in Dallas, Texas building skyscrapers. Some of those really cool, iconic skyscrapers he helped build. I don't remember the transition there, but they moved to North Texas and started an RV park. So they cleared the trees physically from the ground up, built an RV park. Lots of mindset issues, I think, went into that because the electric company, and I don't know what else, raised the rates. He didn't want to raise the rates. He didn't feel like that was fair to the clients. Long story short, they sold the RV park. But I remember him injuring his back during that period of time. And then him and my mom split. So this is a super tangent, but for a reason. So during that period, he was that like lost, single, separated guy. If you can picture that, like lost, my world is upside down guy. But from his back injury and the lack of technology, he could not keep up. So this was when computers were just really hitting the market. Like I was playing on a computer where you had to code. Like I somehow figured out how to like restart a computer through code. Like that early on in computer technology, which isn't normal for my age. So don't try to, you'll get really confused on my age if you try to put this on paper. So, but he could not keep up. And this is a guy who had dreams of being a children's book author. He side hustled to the max. Like outside of the RV park was a flea market. But he could not keep up with technology. And still today, he's the flip phone guy. Technology is not a thing. He has been on disability and Social Security for years upon years. He hasn't held a job since his 40s. Like he hasn't. So injury combined with technology, and he's never been able to break that cycle. So from that perspective, I know how difficult technology is to use. And going down a generation, I'm thinking of, and I'm going to just call some people out here and just forgive me. I'm thinking of now, so my husband is a little bit older than me, and there's 35, 38-year-olds, 40-year-olds into the 50s. Okay, if technology is like continuing to change because of the AI, and if you don't shift with it, you're going to wake up and you're going to be 50 and you're going to be left behind. Is where I'm going.
That's no lie.
What?
That's no lie.
Right. And one of the reasons I feel like I can speak to this is I studied generations and the mindset behind generations when I was in college doing my bachelor's in youth ministry. Generation and generational interconnectivity is really important. But I see this every day when I get onto one-to-one calls with you guys. I can pinpoint your generation and understand what's going on more than you might think. So with that, I fully understand technology is a thing. And learning technology in your 60s, a new technology is hard. But I also see like my husband's grandmother, so my children's great-grandmother, she's still really active. She's pretty tech savvy. She can do quite a bit. But that took learning. It took one of her sons being really interested in computers and teaching her up. So she can do a lot of things on the computer. Not a ton, like it would be really hard to teach her QuickBooks. But from technology, yeah, absolutely. You are learning a new industry at the same time. But I think there are ways to do that without feeling overwhelmed, because you're not having to learn all technology, right? Because you can meet face-to-face with people to get clients. So you're not necessarily having to learn Facebook. There are plenty of business owners that don't use Facebook at all to market their business. They're completely off. Like they do not use their personal profile at all. They want to keep their business so disconnected from Facebook and social media that you don't even know that they're the owner of the business. And some of them are doing that for legal protection. Some of them are doing that just because they want it to be a separate entity. They're going to sell it and they don't want to be the face of it. So then you're just learning from a dumbed down level your workflow software, which can be QuickBooks. Like all you have to learn is QuickBooks to operate this business, and email. from a very dumbed down standpoint.
Yeah,
But-
and I think that we get back, Crystal makes a good point. You're also learning bookkeeping. There's a lot of moving parts in a business. So you're having to learn the marketing, just all sorts of things. So you want to chunk it down because it could be overwhelming when you're looking at it like that.
And
And
I'm not-
that's when you get it back into that mindset that you were saying, Sherry, okay, I got to learn Canva. Oh my God, things like that.
Yeah,
You want to chunk it down and again, having that mentor for that accountability and like Sherry and Megan pulling you back. Wait. Just focus on this, just this. And then, next week we're going to focus on that. That kind of thing.
100%. And that's where I'm going with that. Like, actually, her comment is 100% where I'm going with this is you don't have to know it all today. Right? We just need to take a step forward and acknowledging it as this is holding me back, but I can move forward through this and I will conquer it as I go. Because yeah, business owner, learning all of that, the ins and outs of managing a business, acquiring clients, operating the business, making sure payroll goes out, or if you're paying contractors or making sure your stuff gets paid, your stuff, expenses get paid. You're learning technology because it is a technological based business, and you're learning a new industry and the ins and outs and rules, and you're starting to learn taxes because how does this flow to the tax return, right? Like there's a lot, but you don't have to know it day one.
Mhm.
And Megan and I have gotten on a lot of calls with people who are not, sorry guys, tech savvy. And I'm talking, here's how to open the browser, tech savvy, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I have seen them succeed anyway.
Well, that's good. And I just want to speak up for, people in my generation that
Yeah.
you're talking about. And I'm pretty computer savvy because I've had those jobs where, and I know exactly what you're talking about, Sherry, where, the word program wasn't doing what I wanted to. So I went into the coding, like, oh, there's that code there. Let me remove that kind of thing. So, and I actually enjoy technology, which is different. However, there are times when I've come across a piece of new software where it's like, you know what, I can spend time figuring this out, or I can just ask somebody. Just show me. This is not being very intuitive. Where's that button that you said was there?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I mean, because you brought this up, I will say your generation can actually use computers. If you've learned it, you guys can use computers better than a millennial.
Wow.
And I say this because we have just buttons. And I think I'm technically a millennial, but anyway, long story there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But like, we just have buttons. So we can, make the button work. You guys actually had to do a lot more to learn it. And typically know more behind the scenes, like how it's actually working, than if you were to ask like a 20-year-old.
Oh, the back end. What's going on in the back end?
Yeah. Because you guys saw
I get that. I think it's a little bit more than, some of it's generation, because it's funny because I see my brothers, they're just not tech savvy. Not, my sisters are. And yet, yeah, I don't know whether it was the generational thing or just an interest. I don't know.
It's an interesting too. I have a twin brother. And he is polar opposite. Could not use, he can use technology, but barely.
Mhm.
Like it's just he would much rather be out in the field working, using his hands, and being at the computer doesn't make sense. Like, he can function in it, but he wouldn't be able to like do half the stuff I do. And him and I have talked about this, so if he heard this, he would not be offended. I do a lot more in Excel. I do a ton of stuff. He's polar opposites, and we were twins born in the same year, right? Like same day. So totally different environments and like needs to learn it.
I think though, as the seniors speaking, I think it's just the fast pace of it.
Yeah.
We can catch on to it. I can. It's just it's so fast paced and trying to keep up with the emails and the Facebook and the link. It's so many that you have to try to keep up with, plus live your life. It gets overwhelming sometimes. But as far as picking it up, I think it's just the speed of it that we're used to, not that. Because when you had to write it down and figure it out and do all that, it wasn't as fast paced as it is now. I think that's it too. And my brothers they don't care anything about tech. They rather go and do it by hand, and that could be that generation.
And I think that's okay, because if you're serving a business owner who is of similar generation, similar tech capacity, they're not seeing, like, they're not going to see everything you're posting everywhere else either. Right. And I don't think we need, so we're getting caught up in the details very much now, I think, on this, but you don't have to keep up with LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. I don't keep up with all the changes.
You can't, that's a full-time job.
And I know.
I have to choose. And so I only kept up with Facebook, and I went to like a craft fair. There was a business owner I was connecting with, and I was like, let me go buy soap from you. And I wanted to meet some people local to Albuquerque. And so I went, and all of them were like, you need to be on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I've created an account, and that's as far as like I've made one post. And Facebook changes so much. I created an account when you guys did in 2009. I was still in high school, so I didn't post at all because I wasn't really allowed. They let me make an account, but I wasn't really on it. I was on it for like the church group because they started posting stuff on Facebook. And when I actually started using it for my business, it had changed so much that like I had to relearn it. Like, I didn't know Facebook because I got on it early. Like, it was always changing. It changes less now than it used to, because it would go through some like really big changes all of a sudden, and you're like, whoa, like, wait, you didn't just move the button, like you redid the platform type changes. And so I couldn't keep up. I was like, where do I go to post? It was really frustrating. So if you go to Stock Me, you can see pictures down to like when I was in high school and serving church camps and stuff like that. But for sure, don't feel like you have to keep up with all the platforms. Just pick one.
And just so you know, by the way, I'm like a technophile. I get down this rabbit hole. I went to a networking meeting, and somebody had a business card, and it had a QR code on it. And that was like my shiny object. It's like, oh my God, that's so cool.
It's so cool.
I want that. You know, things you don't need. But if you do, I think you'd be cool if you had a QR code.
You can create one on Canva.
I have one on my card, but it has
you do?
Yes, but I mean, it hasn't been used so far.
Sorry, guys. Elise says, I struggle with getting overwhelmed and anxiety and getting stuck, and everything is a struggle, but just focusing on 1% better. Absolutely. Slowly going through Atomic Habits has been helpful. There will always be something to learn on everyone. Elise, also right up your alley is a book called Flawed Activity by Doug Wilson. you'll enjoy that book, knowing your personality. And it's a faith-based atomic habits. It goes really well after reading Atomic Habits to read that. But
I'm sorry, can you repeat that name?
I'll type it.
Okay.
It's called Plod Activity. I'll see if I can find the book. But the 1% better is like so key, because every day if you show up for your business and get 1% better by the end of the year, I think you're more than 365% better in your business than someone who just stopped and froze, right? And it's the little things like, so first I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to get better at talking to people. Okay, I've got a client, I've got to learn QuickBooks and set up a workflow, but you don't have to have the perfect back end. And I say that because while a back end is helpful, like if you want to cheat, go use Keeper. It's $10 per client. It comes with a checklist. It's going to tell you, review the P&L, review the balance sheet, send the financials. Like, and I think QuickBooks does that too. Like if you go through the review tabs, you're just going to code transactions, review uncategorized, like just go through the checklist. If you need a cheat, here's your cheat for the day. And then improve them. Like, okay, now I sent this email to a client. I've done it once. Now I'm going to not have to ever retype this. I'm going to save it as a template. And that's your 1% better for the day, right? Like I'm going to start saving all my templates and slowly getting better. And that's where having like back office as an excuse hold you back, because you can just do it as you go, right? Set it up as you go. Like I know Megan, when she's editing chart of accounts, we were just talking about it this morning. She changes them as she goes for that client. If she needs a new chart of accounts, she adds them as she goes. She doesn't look at the chart of accounts and say, okay, let me make this perfect for everything I'm going to need this year. She might not know. So she's just going to do it as she goes. Now she might review them, get a new client, review the chart of accounts, see if there's anything super funky going on. Like I had an account, a client bring me an account with like piggy bank and savings for this and this thing. And I was like, what? Like, what does piggy bank mean? Like, that's not one of your accounts. So we had to do some cleanup of his chart of accounts with, as I started, but it didn't stop me from coding the transactions to the bank account, right? Like, and we can always improve their chart of accounts throughout the year, especially if they don't care. Some don't. And so you can just make little improvements throughout the year. Unless they're asking you like, hey, month one, can you really clean up my chart of accounts? Okay, so we're going to sit down and activate ones that they're not using, reclassify stuff, things like that. But okay, here's the book, Louise. But it's literally a play on productivity. He's using the word to plod, which means to slowly just keep going. So the premise of that book is if you have a 15-minute window throughout the day, if you take each of those 15-minute windows and just get a task done, you're going to get a lot done throughout the day. And he gives an example where he drives to work, and I think it's about a 15-minute drive to and from work. And he listens to an audiobook. And he gets through a lot of audiobooks throughout the year because every time he's in the car, he's listening to the book. And so he's able to get through it. So anytime he's in the car, he's playing the book. Therefore, he gets through a lot of books. Is one of his examples. So, I've seen you now using motions. I've seen ads. So Asana I set up. So Becky's asking, I'm using. So I set up Motion as like a scheduling tool, and it does do some task management. Like you can assign tasks. You could replace it, Becky. I'm not. I'm using Keeper as my workflow tool. I started using Motion. I was trying to capture those like tasks and stuff for email. like that came through my email and have them like scheduled so I didn't miss them. And I'm not in love with it. So take that for a grain of salt. I mean, yeah. It was a flashy tool. It was a distraction. Let's call it what it was. It was my excuse to procrastinate getting work done. 100% actually. I should have just got the task done instead of trying to organize the tasks that need to be done.
Sherry,
Yes, ma'am.
you said you use Asana.
I'm now using Keeper. So to answer Becky's question too, I've completely replaced Asana with Keeper. It hasn't brought in all of my business tasks yet that I was using Asana for. Crystal, all of those checklists I gave you can actually be uploaded into Asana.
So the reason I ask is because I know that Asana, if you use Gmail, which most of us do, when you're in Chrome, Asana has a Chrome extension. And I haven't used it like this yet, but I've been told that you can turn an email into a task in Asana
You can.
straight from Chrome.
You absolutely can. I just turned my emails into Google Tasks so that they're on my calendar and Google.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you can do that if you want to assign it to a team member. That's where that would be really helpful. And that's what I was trying to do with Motion because my husband wasn't actively using Asana. So I put him in Motion. I don't think he's going to use anything. Guys, he's 4 years older than me, has a PhD. And for the life of me, I cannot get him to use the workflow system. So let's just pick on him for a second. Any tips for getting him to use? I don't know. So he used it when he was employed, but like it is not his personality to use. Like I'm literally just writing down, here's a sticky note list of everything we have to get done this week. Please check these off. And that's working really well.
Sometimes you have to go low tech.
Well, go
Sometimes
low.
you have to go low to go high.
Hey, he's gotten a lot done this week. I gave him just a list and he's checking it off. I'm like, whatever works. I
Mhm.
wish it was like my personality. I wish it was in the software so I can just log in, say, okay, everything's here instead of being like, babe, is it done? Did you do that? Where's that at? What's the progress?
That's me.
It's
Love it.
awful working with him because I'm like, I'm nagging him and I'm like, I'm not nagging, I just need to know if it's done.
You're just speaking how you're feeling.
Right. But yeah, Asana is a great free workflow software if you need it. And all of the checklists we're trying to release for you guys can be put in there.
Let's go back over the original theme that I think is a really great theme. Why, and some of you have been in your business for a while because I know you. And don't say excuses in your mind because I don't want to ask for excuses, but just why haven't you gotten where you want to be? Something like that, because some of them are valid, you know, and some of them, and again, when it's very hard to see ourselves sometimes. So that's why, you know, mentoring from Sherry and Megan and the other mentors is so valuable as well. So just throw out there, what goal have you not been able to achieve yet? I don't think anyone, I could be wrong, anyone on the call or maybe in Facebook are considering even starting a bookkeeping business. What I don't want to say holding you back, but why haven't you taken the first step? Why haven't you taken the next step? And then you know, we can help you take a look at that or give you options. Anybody? What are your next steps? Let's go with that. What are your next steps? Maybe it's to get another client, right? Maybe it's to get through this cleanup and it's just taking forever.
My next step is to get out there and get into the more activity outside to talk to people. It's the Chamber of Commerce. They're beginning to start up and have open houses for people who have started their business. And they highlight businesses monthly, and they have an open house and everything. And I just need to get out there and start visiting those and talking to people.
How long have you wanted to do that, Belita?
Well, I had went before to a couple of their breakfasts and I had came to it, but I had stopped doing the let's see, why did I stop? Well, I stopped with some personal things that was going on, getting out. And now it's getting a little bit warmer down here. The weather's doing okay. And at the end of the year, they hold back certain things and they don't have a lot of activities. And they're starting to do that now. So I'm kind of going back to it and maybe joining, that because it doesn't cost as much, and it's a yearly fee instead of a monthly fee, because I'm still paying on the other that I need to get paid off.
Okay, so you just mentioned something, you need to get paid on the other to have it pay off.
I need to pay that off. I need to go on out here and get a client and pay that other cake off. Pay it off.
Not okay. I'm not quite getting what she's saying.
Okay,
In another program. That
yes.
Oh, got it. That
Mhm,
other, okay.
mhm.
So, but there's nothing stopping you from going to the meetings right now. You
No.
feel like that's a clear path for you.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. So there's nothing stopping. Perfect.
Mhm.
Perfect. Debbie says, keep going. Debbie, tell me what you mean by that.
Just keep going. Just keep doing what I'm doing. It's slow. And I am finding that I'm okay with that. That way I am completely sure that we're going the right direction with what the client wants to see, what the client wants to do. Everything's crispy clean. And I'm okay with that. I have come to the realization that I don't need to be going 1,000 miles an hour. And I'm now okay with not going 1,000 miles an hour. There for about a year and a half, it was just insane. And I was exhausted, doing all the stuff, all the meetings, all the in-person, all this, all that. And I hid. To be completely honest, I disappeared. So yeah, it's just keep going. Small steps are still steps, right? Forward movement is still forward movement. It doesn't have to be a race car, although I'd prefer to be in one, but it doesn't have to be that way. But I still need to move forward.
Absolutely. And what do you need to move forward? Do you feel like you're doing that on your own?
Yes.
Mhm.
I just signed another is brand new startup, but it's in the industry that I'm wanting to help, right? So
Yay.
it's forward movement, right? It's not stalemate. It's not backward slide. I've just given myself grace to not go 1,000 miles an hour every stinking day. You know, on 5 hours of sleep, that's not accomplishing anything. So, yeah, you know, so it's just forward movement, but at my pace, not everybody else's pace.
The 1% improvement is totally on your terms. And
Right.
knowing your why and knowing that will help you more confidently continue to ignore the stuff that's trying to distract you from that, right? Because I think we do play this battle of nope, not now. Like that's not for me. And we see bookkeepers all the time coming through, like, and then they're hearing everyone's wins. Oh, I just got a $12,000 cleanup. Oh, I just got a new client. Oh, I just got 5 clients this month. Whatever, right? Like, and I see the coaches do this too, you know, because we operate our businesses, we see you guys, and we're like, wait, yeah, I don't want to onboard 5 clients this month. I'm good. Like, we have to remind ourselves that because of our whys or things like that. And it can be very, FOMO is real when you're in a group. But having really good clarity on your why, how many hours you want, knowing that you want sleep, like, is really important. Because you can make, you know, 45,000 with just a handful of clients and work 10 hours a week. I just made up those numbers, so please don't fact check me. Like I can help you craft a plan for that. If that is your goal, right? Like, what does that look like? And in that, I've got my marketing plan. I'm not going to try LinkedIn. I'm not going to try Instagram. I'm not going to try Alignable. Or, you know, maybe I use Alignable and I'm not going to worry about Facebook. Whatever it is, it helps you stay really focused on where you're headed, Debbie. So I feel like let's celebrate that. Like, yeah, one step, you know, 1% forward, and then continue to refine those, what you are doing, right? We're going to get 1% better on everything we're doing for our business. So marketing, delivery, operations, right? Okay, Lacey, and Debbie, did you have anything else to add there?
No, it's just, it was very freeing. When I'm like, okay, enough. This has to change. You know, it was very freeing.
I think that's great.
One more question, and then I want to let you guys know about the e-commerce webinar we're doing next week. So if you've been worried about e-commerce clients, taking them on, I want to let you know what Jira is doing next week. So please stay on real quick, and then I'll because I think most of you that are on get that call anyway. So Becky, that was me that referred to you, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
Becky, I can help you craft that CFO plan and come up with either a package or a deliverable. I've got some ideas, depending on what you're wanting to offer, that I can help you with. So
Okay.
there. Real quick, Lacey says, I'm stuck. I have a new.
It didn't come up. Apparently my typing skills are subpar today. So basically I have my 2 clients. The one is in New Zealand right now, so she's not back. So she knows we got done what she wanted me to get done while she was gone. So I kind of feel like I'll be okay moving forward with her. She's great at communication. My other client I feel very stuck with. I originally had set up that we were going to just pay for the cleanup cost up front, and then we would decide recurring fees based on when I get all the information together, so I kind of know what the scope and sequence is of the work that's entailed with it. But I'm like, we're creeping up on March very, very quickly, and yet I don't have what I need to even gather the rest of the cleanup materials. How do I proceed with that?
You might just have to get them on a call if you've asked for it and they're still not sending it to you. I sometimes just recommend getting on a call, getting in front of their face and saying, hey, I still need these things to get done, and go ahead and say, and I want to let you know what it's going to look like to work monthly. Here's the engagement letter. Like, you could actually do both of those in one physical call with them. And go ahead and pitch that so that you get it, because you can say, hey, I still need this stuff to get the cleanup, but I want to keep you going. So in order to do March, let's go ahead and get this signed so we don't have a hiccup in your bookkeeping, so that you can stay on track and get the reports in a timely manner. That's what I would
Okay.
do personally. Is
I'm just trying to figure out even how to quote it, because I'm like, I don't have access to
Okay.
anything but the bank account right now.
Okay, so you might
So I'm
just
like really stuck.
like just a follow-up call to get the stuff you need
Mhm.
from them and not quote yet. And be okay with not having an engagement letter signed for March.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it. I just don't want them to think that, oh, well, she's gonna give me another free month because it's March and we're still in that cleanup process. And I'm like, no, that's not how this,
No, and then when you
this
send-
game's gonna go.
You're gonna send March, February, March, whatever hasn't been paid for, you're gonna include that in that engagement letter. And that's gonna be a one-time upfront payment and then the ongoing.
Okay, but should I even touch March? Like when that starts coming in? I was gonna say, I didn't think I should touch it till I have something in writing saying this is what we've agreed to.
Yep.
So. Okay. I'm hoping I can get it moving a little bit. This is driving me bonkers.
And then once you get that scheduled and then go about marketing.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that they are concerned, their tax preparer said, well, we're probably gonna file an extension for
Yep.
taxes. Because, not because of their books, because she said she already handed everything over, but because there's some things in the tax law right now that are getting ready to shift and change.
Yep,
So,
that's fair. And that's okay.
yeah, I just think that changed your sense of urgency to get me everything
Oh,
a little
Yeah.
bit too.
possible. You can set up boundaries around that too, when you get on a call with her. I would make it still feel urgent because she needs those monthly reports. And you're gonna charge her extra if she waits till June. Like, she's gonna have to pay all of that at once. If she needs it, like if she waits until December of next year, you're gonna charge like a rush fee or something like on it. We're not gonna.
Okay.
But right now I just try to get her on recurring and just charge her all of that at once. But for next Tuesday at 12 Eastern. I'm not gonna even try to convert that into another time zone, because I know it's on Jara's time zone, so 12 Eastern. Jara will go live she is doing a training on e-commerce. We have a couple of videos for you that you can download on. A couple of coaches have prepared on doing POS systems, but Jara's also going to get on and walk through like how to do a journal entry, answer any questions that you guys have about Q&A or like Q&A format type. If you have any questions about dealing with e-commerce, wondering if you should take on an e-commerce client, you can ask her, anything goes. Feel free to get on with that. I don't have a link for you. I will post it in the moms group. And I will post it in the chat below. I just want to let you guys know that was coming. Since it's
What day is that?
quick turnaround. Next Tuesday.
Be February 28th.
Yep.
Just
And
put
then
it on my
12.
calendar.
And if anybody wants to join that as part of Coaching for Business Success, if you're not in that group, I posted my strategy session if you have questions about that. I know I have limited hours right now to take calls, but reach out to me.
Is the e-commerce webinar in the moms group or is it in coaching?
It'll be like all of the other ones, so we don't go live and
Okay.
we record it. And so you can either join live or get the replay.
Okay.
And that will be on your dashboard. When you log in.
Okay, I
I
just
just
want to
got
make
I finally got the date, so I hadn't made the link.
sure I am. Okay, I just want to make sure I have ended up in the right place for that one.
If you need help with quoting anyone, I go live on Mondays to do quoting help. This afternoon is the co-working call. So if you guys need to join that. at
Were
least-
there, Sherry, were there any other people? Nobody responded on my post. They're having trouble with that time for the working call. Have you heard any feedback?
I haven't. We all of the coaches meet once a month, so I can bring it up in our coaches meeting.
Okay.
But you can ask Sandra.
Yeah, I think I should be able to jump on today. With my kids, I'll have a doctor's appointment. So I won't have to do my run around. But yeah, I definitely have some questions and I'm hoping that they can get answered. Some of them get answered in that group today.
Cool. I also saw your post. I know I'm not available for evening calls.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna just watch and see if any of the other coaches respond. Sandra is monitoring the questions today, so she typically has some more flexibility. So I'm just
Okay.
watching to see. But I unfortunately can't do evenings, but
That's okay. I just looked even going into next week. I can probably snag a time with somebody next week. It's just, I know that's even limited because I know everybody's pretty busy.
if you look
Like
now
that.
at the calendars,
Mhm.
they typically are pretty open. Like the week before going into the week. So if you know you need a call,
Yeah.
start looking 24 hours out
Mhm.
before you want to schedule. Because a lot of coaches have their Calendly set up so that you cannot book within 24 hours because
Right.
they start planning their day.
Yeah.
And if
No,
they're,
that-
they don't want you, they'll miss you. And
Is there any way that we can see the availability of all the coaches at once and kind of pick them that way? Because right now I'm having to go in and reset it each time.
But Calendly has some limitations there. So
Okay.
yeah, so you'll just have to click through.
Then, yeah, I've been trying to hunt. I'm like, okay, who has a time that I can possibly sneak in with? I'm familiar with some of the coaches, but not all of them. And I'm just trying to make sure I'm getting the best fit. So,
What are your questions?
well, mine right now is just going through the chart of accounts and reclassifying some things. And I've met with Jared before regarding the square component with payroll. And that's what I was kind of hoping to get with somebody in the medical practice that maybe has experience with that piece, because Jara had an idea, but she's like, I'm not
I would
quite sure.
get on Kristen's calendar.
Yeah, I was looking, she's like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday person, so I'm like, I might be able to get in with her on Monday.
Yep. Sorry, guys. Okay, well, I will let you guys go so you guys can go. Have fun this weekend. Go serve your clients well. If you have any questions, feel free to post in the group. We're trying to answer as many of those as possible in the moms group too. So, yeah, you guys have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you.